You are listening to 3 Point Lead presented by Loeb's Lead. Today we have our end of month Q&A mailbag episode. I took the top 5 questions across Instagram and TikTok that you guys asked, put them into little segments for us, and we're going to go through them talking about Super Bowl contenders, fantasy sleepers, division sleepers, everything in between. You guys are going to love this. We're going to start, without further ado, with probably the hardest hitting question that we have. Who are the real Super Bowl contenders across the NFL? What I want to do here is go through each conference, and I'm going to give you the list that I have for each conference for a team that can legitimately make a run at the Super Bowl. There's a lot of different criteria that goes into winning a Super Bowl. But for me, you have to have an elite unit on at least one side of the ball. You got to kind of be able to keep your quarterback upright. Experience helps, and I think there's a couple of teams that really benefit from experience, especially in the NFC that we're going to talk about. But we'll start with the AFC, and we're going to go division by division. The AFC East, I find it really hard to believe that the Dolphins and the Bills can legitimately win the Super Bowl. I think they can make the playoffs. I think they have good teams. I think they have good pieces. I don't think they have the capacity, the depth on their roster across the board to win the Super Bowl. I do think the Jets can do it. I think the Jets have one of the best defenses in the NFL that will always keep them in games. They have good special teams. And offensively, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, they already upgraded the offensive line. That's a team that's going to make a lot of noise. So the New York Jets, the AFC West, obviously we have the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't need to say much about the others. The AFC South, I think the Houston Texans can do it. Defensively, they're solid. Offensively, it's going to be one of the best units in the NFL. You have a quarterback that can win you games. You got a good offensive line. CJ Stroud can do it. AFC North is where it gets tough because you look at all 4 of those teams and they have a top 5 unit in one way or another on them offensively or defensively. I think the Bengals still have a top 5 offense. I think they can put up a lot of points. T. Higgins will play this year too. That offense is going to explode. Can they win the Super Bowl with that defense? They made it in years past, or 2 years ago, with against the Los Angeles Rams. And I look at them and I think, well, I don't know if they can hold up defensively against some of the elite offenses in the AFC, but we really take a look at the AFC. Who has a truly elite offense outside of the Cincinnati Bengals? Texans, yeah. The Chiefs, yes. The Ravens, yes. I think offensively, the AFC is a top-heavy conference. So if you are the Cincinnati Bengals, you put up a lot of points. Your defense just has to do enough. So I will throw the Bengals into that conversation. Like I talked about a little bit earlier, 2 experience matters. Joe Burrow has that, right? Bengals, I don't think I need to say much for the Ravens. The Ravens too. But the Browns and the Steelers, it's really difficult. There's 2 teams that they can make the playoffs, and I honestly think they will make the playoffs. 2 playoff teams. What can push them over the edge? How much faith, if you're a Browns fan, how much faith do you have in Deshaun Watson? Do you believe that he can push you over the edge? I am not fully convinced, at least as of right now, that he can. However, you look at how bad that team was last year in terms of the injuries. Everybody they lost, offensive line, quarterback, running back, DBs were in and out week after week after week. They were still one of the best teams in the NFL throughout that past year. So if that team can stay healthy, I'm going to group them in the yes category. I think they can do it. I think they can make a run. Pittsburgh Steelers, interesting. To me, there's too many question marks offensively for the Steelers to leave them into that same conversation. I don't think there's much that separates them with the Cleveland Browns. I don't think there's much that separates anybody in that division, to be quite honest with you. But there's a lot of questions offensively with that Steelers unit. I love what Arthur Smith does, and I think he's going to be awesome for that offense. Can they get the explosive plays through the air? That's my question. Obviously, they have George Pickens, Russell Wilson can throw the ball down the field. We know this. Can they consistently get the explosive plays? I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they can't keep up with an offense like the elite ones we just talked about. So running through the AFC, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, the New York Jets, and the Houston Texans. I think it's very difficult to pick legitimate contenders, people who can actually win the Super Bowl. The AFC is deep, though. The NFC, it's not going to be as deep, guys. I really don't think it is. I think the 49ers don't need to say much there. The Eagles don't need to say much there. You look at the NFC West, I think the Rams can do it. I think the Rams still do belong in that conversation. One, because of the firepower they have on offense. Obviously, they have Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams. They have all of these great players offensively. We overlook how good the offensive line was last year. They had 2 of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL playing last year, and they kept Matt Stafford upright. There's a huge reason they were so successful at the end of the season. I think the Rams belong in that category. Even without Aaron Donald, it's a team that, again, you do enough defensively, allow your offense to have some type of companionship, some type of complementary football. I don't know. I think you can get it done. I think the Rams can do it. NFC East, can Dallas do it? I still do think so. I think you look at their run defense, and it's a huge concern. There is no doubt in my mind that that is a huge concern. But a lot of firepower on offense, guys. A lot of really good game-breaking defensive players. So much star power that, like, it's almost impossible to not put them in the conversation because of the star power that they have. And I think they'll put up a lot of points. We saw last year they can score with the best of them, right? Defensively, if you can find a way to stop the run, that team is going to be really good. I don't think they'll win that division, but team is going to be really good. The NFC South is difficult for me because I love the Falcons. I love their offense. I don't think they'll be able to play enough defense to legitimately keep up with the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think they can do it. I think they could score a lot of points. I think offensively they're going to score at will. But when it comes down to it, you are the Philadelphia Eagles, you are San Francisco 49ers, whoever it is, an elite team. You look at that matchup against a team that, you're like, they can score. We got a good defense, though, which both those teams do. And then you look at the other side of the ball, you're like, we can score on them at will. I'm going to take the other teams. NFC North, I'm just going to go with Detroit. I know the Packers people think they're underrated. I agree. Bears got a lot of talent. If Caleb Williams really good, that team honestly could win that division. Vikings, no. But I don't know, like very, very similar situation to the Falcons, but to a different extent because the Lions have been there before, right? They can score a lot of points. They were 8 minutes away or whatever it was from making it to the Super Bowl. And I think they have that experience. I think defensively they got a lot better. I think they're miles better than the Atlanta Falcons defensively, at least on paper right now. So the Lions. So looking at the NFC, we have the Lions, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Rams, the 49ers. So that's 11 legitimate Super Bowl contenders off the board or across the league, excuse me. Sure, there's a couple sleepers in there. There's a lot of teams that you could talk about as teams that can win the Super Bowl and midseason moves happen. Injuries happen, right? We won't know till the season starts, but those are my 11 preseason Super Bowl contenders. The second question, your big fantasy sleeper for the year. That's a really tough one, especially when you look at positional value, because I love Anthony Richardson. I love that type of quarterback that's being taken a little bit later in the third to fourth-ish round. But you can get, I'm not going to say the Walmart version because that's disrespectful, but you can get a quarterback who has an elite receiver he's now throwing to, who's going to use his legs a lot in 6th, 7th round, like later on. He was very good last year. I'm going to give you two. The first one, though, Kyler Murray. That's who I'm getting at here. I love Kyler Murray. Honestly, offensively, I love what they're doing. I think they got a lot of really good things going on in Arizona right now. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner, like they got some Greg Dortch. They got some really good players there. They got some explosive players there too. So I think the Cardinals are a team sneaky could put up a lot of points. They could sneaky score a lot of points. I don't know if they could sneaky win a lot of games, but they could sneaky score a lot of points. And then you guys are not going to like this, Cooper Kupp. Like, I look at this Rams offense, they're going to score a lot of points. Schematically, they are well advanced above their opponents, especially in the pass game. Everything went wrong for Cooper Kupp last year, and I think people just casually overlook what went right years prior. And injuries are a very big thing, right? That's why he's not going in the first 2 rounds anymore. Cooper Kupp, whatever his ADP is right now, he should not make it past 5th, 6th round in your league. At least in my opinion, I think that's a guy with league-winning upside because, again, 1, we've seen him do it before, but 2, that offense is going to be really good. Maybe Puka overtakes him as the number 1 receiver in that offense. That's fine. What happens, 1, if Puka gets hurt? God forbid, Puka gets hurt. Who's going to step in? It's going to be Cooper Kupp. Number 2, there's still plenty of games last year where both of them were playing, both of them were healthy, and Kupp had more year. Like, I don't know. I think Kupp is being significantly undervalued and underrated just in general, but fantasy-wise undervalued. So I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. I think that's a call that kind of needs to be made, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp as my big sleeper. I think wherever his ADP is right now, I don't remember the exact number. He should not make it past 5, 6-ish rounds in your draft. Number 3, who is your favorite sports team to watch? Entertainment. Wow, that's a tough question. Because, oh gosh, I'll keep it. I'll give you an NFL team and I'll give you a sports team, just non-NFL, excuse me. Because there's a lot of teams that are genuinely fun to watch because of what they do offensively. I would say the Lions are I enjoy watching them the most because of how creative they get. I love the players they have on their team. I'm a huge Jahmyr Gibbs guy. That's no secret here. But I love the way that they can get into different things offensively. I love how creative Ben Johnson is. It's fun to watch. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, watching an edge rusher like Aiden Hutchinson go to work is pretty cool. And I think he really impacts that defense. And you watch the Lions play defense against the run, like they are suffocating. Like they are really good against the run. So they do a lot of really cool things, a lot of really enjoyable things to watch as somebody, one, who loves cool offense and loves scoring points, but two, loves the schematic side of things. I think they do a lot of really good things. And I think defensively, especially, they don't get the credit they deserve. So I'm going to go Detroit Lions for my favorite football team to watch. But my favorite non-football team, just sports team to watch, entertainment. I mean, it's hard not to say the Celtics right now just because of, the season they had. I am a Celtics fan, but the season they had and everything that kind of led up to this point with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the coexisting type deal argument, whatever. So I'll say Boston Celtics. If I had to pick another one that I'm just not a fan of, a true fan of, I just enjoy watching them play. That'd be tough. That'd be really tough. Honestly, the Minnesota Timberwolves were really cool to watch too. The Timberwolves were really fun to watch in the playoffs this year. I love Anthony. Who doesn't love Anthony Edwards? He's awesome. But Naz Reid, guys like that. Karl Anthony Towns has defined the laws of physics with what he can do as that big of a guy on the basketball court. Minnesota Timberwolves were a really cool team to watch. So favorite teams to watch, NFL, Lions, hands down, the most entertaining, at least for me. And then non-football, Celtics. I am a Celtics fan, though, so I will lean back. Non-Celtics, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Question number 4. Who is your big sleeper in the AFC North this season? I'm going to assume that's player. So what I'll do is I'll give you a sleeper on every team, to be honest with you. I think that would be really good. I'll start with the Cleveland Browns just because you guys know I work with I do stuff for the Browns. I look at the Browns on a daily basis, and it's tough because I don't know what the offensive line is going to look like, but I'm going to say DeJuan Jones. I know Browns fans know he's really good, but I think there's a new level to DeJuan Jones that can be reached, especially if he's able to successfully transition from right to left tackle, if that is the route they go with their tackle situation. Who knows what they do? But yeah, I think the Browns could have one of the best tackles in the NFL this next season if DeJuan Jones moves over. Athletically, there's very few people like him in the NFL, the tackle position. So I'll go DeJuan Jones as my sleeper with the Browns. We'll move to the Steelers. That's tough. Steelers is really tough. I'm going to go with Roman Wilson. Yeah, I'm a big Roman Wilson fan. I love the way he plays the game, but I think in that offense, you're going to need a guy to, by the eyes of the defense, one, as a motion guy, but two, win one-on-one in the slot because teams are going to try to play man against the Steelers. That's how it's going to go. They're going to do what they can to stop George Pickens, say, okay, everybody else go beat us. And Roman Wilson's going to have to be the number 2, and I think he's going to fit Arthur Smith's scheme pretty well, especially as a guy who, again, is going to motion, going to be the by the eyes guy. For the receiver room, I think Roman Wilson's a big sleeper. I think he could have a huge, huge year, especially when you turn on the film. It may not all come in the box score, but when you turn on the film. Baltimore, Rashad Bateman. I've been saying that for a while. I think coming back healthy, he's going to be really, really good. Somebody's going to need to fill Odell's shoes, at least in the snap count world. Like Bateman's going to step in and be the number 2. I'm fascinated to see what that offense looks like. And then the Cincinnati Bengals, that's tough. I think a lot of people are talking about Burton, the receiver. So that's not necessarily a sleeper for me. Mike Gesicki fascinates me because Joe Burrow has not had a true vertical threat tight end yet, and that's what Gesicki is. So I'll go with Mike Gesicki as my sleeper for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the final question, the Super Bowl prediction, June 30th, 2024. What is your Super Bowl prediction? Before I get into that question, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Better Picks. It's my favorite way to enjoy fantasy sports, where you can pick more or less on your favorite player's stats to win up to 1,000 times your entry. And right now, Better is offering a first deposit match of up to $250 if you go to my socials and join with code LEADS. That's LEADS, LEADS, all caps. But Super Bowl prediction. So last year, you guys know, what did I say last year? Last year, I had the 49ers. I think I had 49ers over the Ravens. So it wasn't great. 2 years ago, I did have the Chiefs, which was great. So I'm 1-1 in the past 2 years. I'll give you my AFC and NFC championship picks right now, though. AFC championship, I'm going to go Baltimore against Kansas City. Sorry, it's basic. I think Baltimore gets over the hump, though. I think it's going to be Ravens from the AFC. The NFC is tough because Detroit will make the NFC championship game. I'm very confident in that. I'm going to go Detroit, Philly. I know people love the 49ers. I don't know. It's hard to repeat what they do. I think Philly is oh. See that looking at the matchup, Eagles-Lions, that would be the NFC Championship game. Philly's going to be able to run the ball against anybody except for one of the best run defenses in the NFL, which is going to be Detroit. It's a grudge match. It's a schematic coaching match, but it's which roster has more talent. I think Philly does. So I'll go Philly over Detroit. And then it's Philly-Baltimore in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go Philly. So right now, I reserve the right to change this. It is June 30th. I will go Eagles over Ravens in the Super Bowl. I think Philadelphia is the most talented team in the NFL right now, preseason on paper. But we wait to see. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow. Give the podcast 5 stars if you enjoyed it as well. But we will see you guys next time. I appreciate you watching and listening. God bless.